So the first one I'd worked on was this one. I did this rock the other day, and it was from the Watercolour Secrets video, and then I have drawn Max in there to lie into the tree. And then I worked on this one. Well, I worked on this, and I didn't get it perfectly, and I thought, okay, well, that's okay, I can fix it along the way. And I thought, well, I'll try using these watercolor pencil crayons that Dad got me to do the grid lines, because I thought, well, if I do the blue grid lines, they almost fade out to nothing. So we'll see if it works. I don't know if it will, but when I was drawing out Frosty, it didn't work out really great anyway. So we'll see how that works out. And then this is the library adult coloring contest picture. And I thought, well, you know, I'm trying to work on watercolors, so what I'll do is trace this out onto tracing paper and put it onto watercolor paper to color it in. And then I thought, well, this is first thing, I kept running into problems on the paper. Like, see this shelf? It ends here, and it should be going out here, but then it's like a candle's right under, so you got to move the candle out if you don't want it burning the shelf. And then there's a bunch of problems in here, like with perspective and stuff, and I know perspective drawings are so hard to do. So the person, I mean, they worked really hard on this, but it, or played really hard, but there's some major issues, yeah. And I thought, gosh, do I try to fix that, or what should I do? So anyway, I couldn't deal with these trees. These trees are horrible. Trees don't look like that. And so I had to fix the trees. So, but anyway, I decided to make it my own picture, and I put a baby in there, crawling and reaching up for the cat's tail, right? And it went okay, but not perfectly. The baby, I mean, I'm just drawing from imagining things, right? So if I had a baby around, maybe it'd be better, or a picture of a baby. And I put a ball of yarn in here that I imagined, and another plant, and I extended the coffee table and moved that candle back, and I put the startings of a chair there. And then I'm gonna put some pictures of the baby's face in the pictures there. And I put Maxie out in the tree, because the cat has to be looking at something. He's not looking at anything there. What's he looking at? Who knows? So anyway, so that's what my picture is going to be like. And
so those are supposed to be leafless trees?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I know.
The way I was picturing it was this was fruit up in a tree. Trees don't look that way, you're right.
So anyway, that's James's meal with horseradish sauce, and that's Watercolour Secrets. That's where the rock came from. And those are the pencil crayons that my dad got me over 20 years ago. And the White Lotus got top of the stack, then Happy Valley, then Sister Boniface Mysteries. So
Boniface, eh?
Yeah.
That means good deeds, I think. Making good deeds, doing good deeds. Boniface.
So I'll just move these things out of the way, just a little bit over here. And we'll see how this all turns out. I don't know how it will, because my angels gave me the messages today. Recall a favorite memory, forgive yourself, and erase guilt from your consciousness. And I was thinking, okay, well, what is that? Should I forgive myself about doing a bad job drawing out these pictures, and looking at it thinking, I don't know if that grid line idea is going to work anyway, or but then I got to the last thing I drew in the picture was Maxie, and I realized that I have a lot of guilt. I feel a lot of guilt about giving her up, and it was a spur of the moment, spontaneous kind of decision. A guy walked by and he's like, oh, what a lovely parrot. And I had come home for the weekend from working in a different city, and James had been caring for Max, and he didn't know how to care for Max really. And because he hadn't, right? And then I was like, well, you know, if you really like her, then you can have her. And some people came and it was a woman, and I don't know if he was related to her or what, but she came and she wanted Max to be a companion for her mother, who was very old and deaf, and it seemed to like it was meant to be. Actually, at the time I thought, well, this is great, you know, she's not going to make the old woman deaf, because the old woman's already deaf, and the old woman had had a parrot before, and so I thought, well, this was meant to be, right? But still, I have guilt over it, because I feel like the younger woman, the daughter, didn't seem to understand at all. Like, she was telling me, well, we'll give her lots of organic vegetables and fruit, and I was like, okay, well, she won't eat them, because what she eats is Nutriberries and Hagen Tropican, and she'll eat almonds in the shell and peanuts and sunflower seeds and you know, like almonds. Yeah, but forget the fruit and stuff. She's not going to eat it. You know, like I went through a long time when I first got Max and I worked at the zoo, and I was looking through I borrowed books from the zoo about nutrition for parrots and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is going to work out so great, and she wouldn't eat it, and I would leave dishes of food, and sometimes I'd leave them just away from her cage, well, like on the windowsill near her cage, so you could see it and go, okay, it seems like it's harmless, you know, and then sometimes she might go for a little bit of something. Like one day she decided pita bread was actually fun, and she had this huge pita round that she was holding, which was hilarious, right? Because it looked massive compared to her, and she was laughing about it because I think she thought it looked funny too.
Yeah, she had a sense of humor.
Yeah. But anyway, I have some sad feelings about that too, and the woman was talking about how she'd want to take her out to sit on the deck and stuff too, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I tried to tell her, okay, I've climbed so many of the trees in my neighborhood trying to get Maxie back, and this woman was not fit for climbing trees, and I was like, if she has to be in a cage, if you're going to bring her outside, you're going to have to be very careful bringing her outside and putting her in her outdoor cage, because she wants to be up in the tree, right? And anyway, so I had worries about that the woman was, you know, she'd known that I had Maxie out on the deck in a cage out and she thought, oh, that's great, I want to do that. And it's like, okay, are you prepared to climb that spruce tree right up to the top? Because she's gonna be there, you know. I've done it. So anyway, I have some feelings about that, right?
It terribly much, and I'm going to say, Maxie wasn't very appreciative of all the care you. She was very demanding, very loud, very annoying.
Yeah.
So if you didn't, she'd always wanted to scratch her head. And what she'd do is she'd stand on one claw, with the other claw scratch her.
Oh yeah, and you'd do it, and then you'd stop after a couple minutes, and she'd do it again. She's like, "No, keep going."
And she would say, "No, keep going." It wasn't just scratching.
She wanted
screaming.
Constant attention, right? It's constant, and it really loud, really.
Very annoying.
No, anyway.
She did not go out of her way to ingratiate herself.
But the White Lotus, the acting is really good in this. For the most part, these are movie quality actors, and you get beautiful Italian scenery. So what more could you want, right?
It's in Italy.
Yeah, beautiful scenery.
No, it is a Hollywood production.
Well,
it's not.
There's a few Italian subtitles, but
there we go.
Anyway,
okay.
Happy Valley Series 3. This was the best season of Happy Valley that I've seen. They really went the extra mile with this one. It's I loved how you were seeing the different people crossing paths without knowing each other, without actually, like, you'd see one guy walking down the street and another, the vehicle of somebody that you know in the series driving by or whatever, right? But it's not like it's not put in your face, but it's there and you notice it, right? And so there's this weaving of the story going on that was really good. But I mean, it just didn't compare to this one, because I think they called I think it was the same place in both of these. I think it was some place called Greater Slaughter or something like that. I'm not sure, but I mean, the scenery was lovely, and the song for the credits for this one, it doesn't actually match up for me, because it's the song saying something about, you know, wanting to get out of the only pleasant feelings they have, or feelings about wanting to get out of where they are, and yeah, there's some terrible things going on with people's lives and stuff like that. And honestly, I don't know that I believe the story with the pharmacist, because every pharmacist that I've ever run across has been total genius. But so I don't know if they'd get themselves into a mess like this. But anyway, yeah, the scenery's beautiful, just it's not Italy. Wow, Italy, beautiful. So, Sister Boniface Mysteries Season 2, this was bad. The acting was over the top. It seemed like comical almost, but they weren't meaning to be, but I don't know. It's set in the 1960s, and the first thing I noticed, the first episode, there was a parrot in a cage, and his cage was new. It was not a 1960s style. It was a more modern style of cage. So honestly, I don't know that they really worked that hard trying to make things seem authentically 1960s. I don't know have you heard of these Sister Boniface Mysteries?
No, I haven't.
It's
ridiculous coming out of England.
It reminded me of
Catholic.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Father Brown stuff, and I was thinking, well, maybe the Catholic Church, maybe they're thinking, oh, well, we're not going to be able to sell Father Brown anymore because of all the crazy things with the Catholic Church. Maybe if we sell Sister Boniface instead, I don't know, maybe a woman will sell better, they're thinking. I'm not sure, but it reminded me of that, only it's a woman, right?
Well, it's BBC. BBC tends to be very secular, very anti-Christian.
Yeah, and also there's the sisters in this story, they've adopted men's names from the Bible. So that reminds me of the what's that Margaret Atwood, The Handmaid's Tale, that they're they're doing this season, and it's like, okay, do you really want to remind people of that, and have that with the Catholic Church, The Handmaid's Tale, and then I don't know if they were really thinking this through when they made it.
It would not.
I don't think this is really saleable.
It wouldn't be pro-Catholic. It'd be more pro-Catholic than pro-Protestant. The lefties, and BBC is very lefty, irresponsibly so, can't stand Protestantism, particularly Calvinism, because it's been associated with, due to the sociologist, was it Weber? Calvinism has been associated with capitalism, development of capitalism. And it's probably, there's truth, because Jean Calvin, usually allowed lending out on interest, whereas the Catholic Church didn't allow it. So, Catholicism by the lefties has been favored by comparison with Protestantism, so on and so forth. So the BBC is, it likes to pretend that it's objective and stuff like that. Although, if you get these guys talking, they say there's no objective truth. I'm going, yeah, okay. they are very, very judgmental about things that they don't approve of. You know, there's no morality. Well, they've got a very stringent sense of morality. They can't stand Jews either. They call them Zionists. Those are the religions they don't like are Christianity and Judaism. They're all gung-ho for Islam. Any religion that's thought of as being belonging to people of color, they're all gung-ho enthused about. So, yeah, the BBC is hugely anti-Semitic, Judeo-phobic, let's call it. It's disgusting.
Anyway.
But it's hugely, let's call it capitalismophobic and Calvinismophobic. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's okay. You can talk.
Oh, everyone's whipping
It's a bit
around.
breezy. No, I wanted to use the watercolor pencils on something because there was one of the students from the Lotus art thing that I'd just finished before. They were asking the instructor if they could use watercolor pencils on their work, and he's like, yeah, if you can get it on there or whatever. You know, he didn't have a problem with it. And I remember when I was when I was taking a university art course, there was I said to a woman, have you tried watercolor pencils? And she's like, oh, they're just like pencil crayons, so I don't like them. And
Was
I'm
that
like,
a woman in the class?
yeah, a woman in the class. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I thought, you don't know how to use watercolor pencils then, you know, because yeah, they go on like pencil crayons, but then you use a paintbrush on them and pull the paint around. So they're not actually, they're not like pencil crayons. But anyway, I will be using regular watercolors on this. Once I can get my picture right. I had this idea, instead of using a pencil to draw my picture out, I will use watercolor pencil crayons. Which, I mean, if I made a mistake, it was very, very difficult to erase it out. So it didn't work out great, honestly. Like, there's a mistake there that I made that's a pretty big one. I don't know if it's going to show up, even when I put the rest of the paint on. And, I mean, Frosty was a very handsome iguana, and this doesn't look.
It looks a bit like a Tyrannosaurus. So
Kinda, yeah.
that's okay.
So, I don't know. I don't know if I can fix that.
Frosty still looks like a character.
Oh, he was. He was incredible. I was telling James that Frosty, the iguana, came from the SPCA. Silas had adopted him from the SPCA, and the SPCA got a hold of him because somebody had rescued him out of a chain link fence. He got himself stuck in the chain link fence.
And the time of year was?
Well, it was fall. It had frosted overnight. And so it was nothing short of a miracle that he didn't lose toes and stuff.
Yeah, he was in trouble, or lose his life.
Luckily somebody got him out of there fasted and got him to the SPCA, and Silas adopted him, and it worked out for a while.
So the SPCA was the one who gave him the name.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think Silas named him that. I think he just, a lot of the time the SPCA or the pound, they'll give them names, and then a lot of the time people are like, okay, that sounds fine.
Did that with Angel, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't Angel called
No.
Angel?
Yeah, but she wasn't named from the pound. Her name was on her tag.
No, there we go.
So that's been her name forever. That's why she has that name.
No?
Because, her name. She was microchipped, right?
Yeah.
And so the people didn't end up picking her up from the pound.
I think they had enough of
we
her.
had to wait for, I don't know, but we had to wait for a long time. I think it was over a month before we were allowed to adopt her because, we were first in line for her, but we had to wait until, just in case the people would come to claim her or whatever because she was microchipped. So, but we lucked out and we got Angel. And
didn't someone want to trade a dog for her or something like that?
yeah, there was one of the women who'd got a puppy from us in the past.
Yeah.
She wanted to trade a dog for Angel. She wanted Angel.
Yeah, that was Benny.
Yeah.
Or as they called him, Baines.
Yep.
And this is
He's
how
a
I
handsome
knew.
little guy.
You know, they say they don't really know their own names. Wake
Oh,
up
he
and smell
remembered
the
it
coffee.
from when he was a little baby.
So they've been calling him Baines. How old would he have been when they got hold of him?
Oh, just a little guy,
Just-
8 weeks old.
8 weeks old.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to. He wasn't really responding that well. And then I called him Benny.
I mean, he did come back to visit once when he was still just a little baby. So maybe at 10 weeks or something, he came back and.
Anyway, this was years later. And when I called him Benny, he came over and he started licking my hair. Every time I called him Benny,
Yeah,
he'd
because
lick
he
my hair.
remembered it.
He remembered.
And that's nice.
And
You know,
one
it's
of the
nice that
nice things is
he liked you still.
Yeah.
So you knew that you'd done
we
right by him.
we treated him nicely.
Yeah.
Any dog that we've had would be that way. It doesn't matter the age. So it was funny because I get the sense that he liked us more than them. So, but I don't want to say too much about it. But
Anyway.
I think they treated him nicely, but we really
Well,
love our dogs.
Yeah, we do. And I mean, not everybody gets to be around their dogs all the time. You know, a lot of times,
Well,
like we
I
used to
was
leave
retired,
Copper and
so-
he'd be so sad when we had to go to work,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
And
that
we'd
was
come
before
back
I retired.
and he'd cry and cry in tears. You know, he'd be wiping his tears on my thigh. Never leave again, never leave again. For like
Some dogs at least can have tears.
minutes.
He
He'd
literally
be crying
had tears.
and blubbering. You
Right.
know, he was so sad. And
So I don't exaggerate about numbers. I try not to.
but luckily we
It
get to stay
seemed
with
so
him all the
long
time.
that he spent crying. One time I timed it. It was 7 minutes
Yeah.
of blubbering,
Yeah,
rubbing his
I know. He got so sad
jowls
about
on
it.
my knees
Yeah.
while I was petting him, trying to comfort him.
All right, so you have the floor to talk about whatever issue you want to talk about.
Well, so much of what concerns me I don't want to talk about. I shouldn't have to.
Okay.
So, I kind of got cut off the other day talking about one person that we ran into. I'm retired. I got a smashed up back thanks to my 5 fractured vertebrae. Compression fractures, could be worse. But I lost an inch of height for each one of these compression fractures. I think about that. I used to be 5'9". Again, I'm not exaggerating. Now I'm 5'4". Smudge. So there's the work that I used to do, I can't do. So the government of Canada, in its infinite wisdom, refuses to recognize that I'm a Canadian citizen, so they don't come across with my Canada pension. So while they're waiting to, and understand, I've got, according to my parents and one of my siblings, the others aren't terribly concerned, I am parted with them. Now, so my ancestors have been here 10,000 years, and I got to prove my citizenship because I was born elsewhere. My parents are missionaries. Born over there. That's interesting. Anyway, while they're taking their sweet behind it time, figuring out I'm a Canadian citizen, Pauline and I have to go to a food truck. Get a little bit of help with the money. So there was a person there about a week ago, the food truck in the lineup. I was just talking about how he was lined up, we lined up. I said that's what people do in democracies. I wasn't talking about nationality. I was talking, white people do that. I was talking about culture, and I was talking about democracy, politics.
Yeah, and there was a native woman there, and she was in line too. And she was talking about how while she was at the food bank, that people would be trying to cut in line all the time, and
with an indigenous person. Absolutely
what
shameful.
kind of nerve would you have? Jump in the line in front of a native person at the food bank? Seriously.
You got people from elsewhere squatting on the indigenous people land, and they want to jump the line on. Absolutely shameful. Anyway,
Yeah.
when I started about people talking about people in democracy lining up, this one guy, turns out, he's from Maharashtra, Bombay. So what he's doing, he just exploded basically. He was ranting about how we needed a revolution. Say what? He can have a little revolution back in his own homeland, because he was saying democracy is broken. Here? What? What's he doing here? What is he doing here? He's living off not really the fat of the land, but off of this society. He's lining up, and he's young. He doesn't look as though he's
our democracy is not perfect.
It's not perfect.
We can make it better.
We can make it better using democratic means.
Exactly, not by revolution.
Yeah,
because that's how people died.
The English had a democracy that was very faulty. It didn't, our democracies were very faulty, most of them up until about 1920, after World War I. Well, really, it was after the Russian Revolution, I think. New Zealand was ahead of the game, and Alberta, actually, was ahead of the rest of Canada. You know that, giving the vote to women.
I didn't know
how
that.
times have changed. yeah. But that's the thing about democracy. It's kind of like self-correcting. So what's he talking about it being broken? What he wants to do is break it. He wants to smash it. That's what smashing. Who used that? I think it was Lenin who liked using that term, smashing capitalism. Smash, smash, smash. And that's what they did. They smashed everything. So if you're from elsewhere, I don't care if you're white, black, green, or whatever, brown, if you want a revolution, have it where you come from. Go back there. I don't care if you're from Ireland and as white as can be. Get back there if you believe in revolution. Because I am telling you. So this guy was saying, it's smashed. He's mixing up economic system with the political system. The difference between the rich and the poor gets bigger and bigger, and he's going like this. But what really has been happening is this. We didn't have color TVs when I was a kid. Now we've got the option. Well, I guess you've got a wee little second-hand color TV. That's color, right?
Well, and also, it's not a good thing for somebody who's with a very strong accent, who's obviously immigrated recently, to be complaining about the discrepancy between the high income and low income in the country that they come into, because especially with other poor people waiting in line at the food truck, because what the other poor people are thinking.